and I met many of you and your families during that time. I thank you for being here. We've done this for several years now because we've felt it's an important tone to set for an atmosphere of respect for the campus, and actually just in the last year it's become kind of a federal requirement on college campuses around the nation. So we've been doing this for close to a decade now, but now colleges around the nation are starting to do this too. So, and many already have. So this is a cell phone free event. I know there's going to be withdrawal symptoms appearing because of that, but please go ahead and power down, or put it in your purse or pocket or whatever. Put it out of sight. So just go ahead and power down on that. Because of the importance of this event, that's why we're asking that. So also just out of respect for the topic and what we're talking about tonight. So I want to make sure you guys can hear me. Can you hear me really well back there in the back row? Yeah? Okay. Jackie, okay? I don't know if we can go any higher. So is it hard to hear over here a little bit? You're all right? Okay. All right, well, staff and faculty here at Concordia are really invested in your success. So you're going to hear that time and time again. We're a small institution. We are very invested in your success. We want to be a part of it. We want to have a very successful campus community. Every new student, we want to introduce you to an atmosphere of success and support in everything we do. And much of our success in the classroom, or the lack thereof, is significantly influenced by those things that occur outside that time that we're in the classroom, which is a lot of time. Some of these are the decisions that we make, and really some of these things are circumstances completely beyond our control. The focus of tonight is on some things we know at some level everyone in this room can influence to some degree or another, either directly or indirectly. The heart of a successful campus community is one that strives to be a safe learning environment and one based on respect for one another, both in and out of the classroom. That is what our student handbook and our community standards and so much of this university is based on, an atmosphere of respect. Our program topic tonight is a very important one in our society and our community, and that's why we require attendance. We'll focus on topics like decision-making, sexual harassment, sexual assault, and consent. You'll hear some facts, you'll hear some real stories. And I know you've heard some aspect of this probably from the high school years, or if you're transferred from a previous college. But we want to set a tone for what it means on this campus. This program tonight is called A Call to Action, because while we're a community of learners, we cannot fulfill our mission as a university for transforming society if we're not a community of action. What you'll learn applies to tonight, to tomorrow night, and to any night in your time here at Concordia and beyond. This program is a call to awareness, it's a call to action, and ultimately how we can all be purposeful in fostering success in the classroom by fostering a safe and respectful community outside the classroom among our university community. So, again, just kind of a final reminder, cell phones, others going to be stronger, just pull those cell phones out, check a text message or something. Please refrain from that, and please give full attention to our presenters. Again, use your folder as a fan. We have some ice water over there if you feel like you really need to grab some and come back to your seat. Facilitating tonight's program is Dr. Reed Mueller. Some of you may have had him in class, potentially already, and by the way, I want to congratulate you all on your first classes. You're already successful. Has anyone not had their first class yet? Okay, all right. Dr. Mueller is a psychology professor here at Concordia University. He grew up in Portland, has 2 children. His wife, Erin, also happens to be a professor here at Concordia as well. Please welcome Dr. Reed Mueller. Megan, are you going first? Huh? Megan Boslow, everyone.
Okay, so Reed, do you have the next?
Yes.
Okay, here. Okay, my name is Megan Boslow. I'm the Associate Dean for Student Development. I'm also the Title IX Coordinator. Has anyone heard of Title IX before? Julie Dodge, back there, our social work faculty, she's heard of it. I'm glad, thanks. Yeah, so Title IX is it's a part of school life that makes sure that we don't have an environment that discriminates against people for any area of civil rights, but we're really focused on that gender discrimination issue. So you're going to hear all sorts of things about that, but one thing that has been an issue is that colleges have really been highlighted as an area where we've had some problem with sexual assault. So not all universities across America are dealing with some serious pressure on fixing this problem. And we are very excited to be a part of fixing the problem. So as the Title IX coordinator, I listen to any grievance that comes to me because there's been a sexual assault, a form of harassment, or you feel like you're discriminated against in some way or another based on your gender. I get to hear those things and help you figure out what to do next. So that's one of my roles here on this campus. If you ever need to come and talk to me, you can. But I'm not actually an advocate. An advocate on our campus is somebody that walks you through a process of a grievance. So if you are dealing with bullying, harassment, all sorts of things, we wish that wouldn't happen to you, but if it does, we want you to find a solution to it. So in the back, I've got a few different people back here who are advocates for us. Can you guys wave your hands and take a look back there? Everyone see them? Great. Okay, so these are some of our staff and faculty advocates back here, and what they'll do is anytime that you want to meet with one of them, and Elizabeth, you wave again. Elizabeth, who is also, she works in the student services, she works with all the advocates and will help coordinate getting you in touch with an advocate if you want to go through a grievance. Just want to figure out what's going on, want to tell somebody. That's a little bit different than a counselor. So Jackie, will you stand up? There's Jackie. Jackie is our fabulous director of counseling here at Concordia, and she has several graduate counseling interns with her. Can all of you guys stand up too? And wave as well. Thank you. This is our counseling team this year. They have a fantastic program. When you speak to one of them about things that have gone on in your life, it's completely confidential, which means other people on campus aren't going to hear about it. Our Dean of Students doesn't hear about it, I don't hear about it, none of that, but they are there to help you kind of figure out what's going on, what you want for your life, but it's a really confidential area. With advocates, they also can talk to you and not, it stays very private, but there are certain parts of information that'll have to be told to me. Not your identifying information, but some other things. So just so you know about that, if tonight you are you're listening to this stuff and it's triggering to you, there's a kind of a counseling word for you, but if it's triggering, like, gosh, this is really kind of intense stuff for me, please take care of yourself tonight, and you have a couple options. If you need to just step out for a few minutes, that's completely fine. If you would like to talk to any one of the counseling team about what's going on, they're here for that, or if you want to talk to one of our advocates, they're also here for that very reason. So we have places that we can just wave at one of them or go tap one of them on the shoulder. They would love to spend some time just talking with you about what's going on. Okay, throughout the process, no matter what, some of the stuff is going to be fascinating and some of it's going to be pretty heavy. So when it's too heavy, please take the time to take a deep breath, pray if you need to, get your mind in a good place, and then ask yourself good questions. What do I need out of this process? So again, make sure you use the resources in the back here, and we're going to have a great meeting. And now we have Dr. Reed Mueller. Thank you. Any last surveys? This is the last chance to turn in.
Lift them up. All right, so when we begin, and we're beginning now, so when we begin, I want to recognize a few facts. One of the facts that we need to recognize is that there are a lot of different realities in this room. You have your own personal history. You know the conversations that you've had around this topic. You know what makes you anxious and what you feel confident in. I want to recognize that. I want you to look around to the people around you And tonight's a night, even if you feel like you're ready to check out, to maintain attention in this heat. To maintain attention so that others can listen to this very important issue. Some of the people in this room have a reality where they've never talked about sex, let alone consent or sexual assault or rape. And this is going to put them on edge. Respect them. Others in this room, your reality, you've heard this 3 or 4 times. You've done these sexual assault trainings before. I need you to learn something new tonight, one new thing tonight, so that you can take action in a new way. So those are the realities in the room. But there's also a reality outside this room. A reality happening all across college campuses across the United States. And I want to start there, with the reality of what the statistics tell us. So we're going to visualize this for a second. Let's say this room is 100%, 100% of us are in here. I need about 20% of us to stand up. This section's a little small, so I'm going to divide us right here. And everybody from this spot over, I need you to stand up. Yeah, right around here. Thank you, you're good. All right. So let's imagine that's 20%. 1 in 5 women are assaulted on college campuses. If this represents the average college campus, that's the number of women who would be sexually assaulted on college campuses. Pretty big chunk of this room. All right, now what I want to do is take 1/3 of this down, so you guys sit down. And right about there, that's good. Everybody else stand up. Oh, no, don't sit down. These guys back here, you thought you were out of it, you need to stand up. It's not just women who are assaulted on college campuses. A little over 6% of men are sexually assaulted on college campuses or suffer an attempted sexual assault. This is an issue. This is an issue that is a reality across this nation. And it's an issue that I think we should take notice of. All right, one more time. Now I need everybody to stand up. Every single person. This is 100% of the room. If there's a chance that Concordia University might end up being like the national statistics, where 20% of women experience sexual assault on college campuses, where 6% of men experience sexual assault or attempted sexual assault on college campuses, this is the number of people that it will take to make sure those statistics aren't true of our community. Every single one of us in here tonight can take concrete steps to make a difference in this community. Later on, you're going to be asked to take a step, to make a commitment, to make a difference. Along the way, you're going to learn how to do that and learn some tools so that you don't fall prey and so that you keep others from being harmed. 100% of us can make a difference. All right, everybody have a seat. So if you overheard somebody saying, I had sex last night, just to yourselves, what would you think happened? What images come to mind? We're adults here, we're old enough, we're mature enough to handle this. Most of us would think of heterosexual sex. Most of us would think of coitus, which is a technical term for penile vaginal intercourse. But you know what? Sex is different for different people. That's the tricky thing about the topic that we're talking about. We think we know more than we do. We think we understand what other people want without really checking in. We minimize another's experience because they're a little bit different than us in their sexual orientation or their sexual history or the way they conceive of sex. Sex isn't what we automatically think it is. Some people think sex is outercourse, including intercourse. No penetration at all. Some say sex is only coitus, penile-vaginal intercourse. Some suggest that sex can happen in other ways, penetration in other ways, manually, and a variety of other ways. What I want you to think about right now, and the point to get, is that you may not know as much about this topic as you originally thought. That there may be things for you to learn. That the people that you're on this campus with will have different perspectives. And that's a beautiful thing about Concordia. That we can have different perspectives. That we can have conversations about tough issues. These are some key terms as we think about what sex is and how it can go wrong. Sexual abuse, sexual harassment, sexual assault, and rape. Take a look at those definitions for a moment. What's common among them? Sexual abuse is probably the largest category. Covers a lot of potential actions, things that would occur to a person. Sexual harassment can be anything from that email that somebody thinks is innocuous with that picture of that object or body part you thought was funny but somebody else might feel a little uncomfortable with. It could be somebody with power over another person, applying some kind of social pressure to get them to act in a certain way or do certain things. What's common up here? There are a few words that you see in every single definition. Unwanted, thank you. Without consent. In every single one of these, the key words are unwanted and without consent. Sexual abuse, unwanted sexual activity in which one of the people involved does not give free consent. Sexual harassment, unwelcome sexual advances, requests for sexual favors, unwelcome. Sexual assault, attempted and unwanted sexual activity. Rape, without consent, penetration of a male or female. It happens to 20% of women on college campuses, 6% of men on college campuses. Does that have to be the case here? Do we have to stand for this, or can we, as a community, decide to do something different? Why would we decide to do something different? Why would we make ourselves uncomfortable in this hot room, listen to this topic? Why would we do uncomfortable things to step in and protect another person? Why would we learn new skills of sexual communication? Well, one reason we might do that is because it's an epidemic. You've heard the 1 in 5. You've heard the 6%. Look at that bullet point under the 1 in 5. I think it says 2% of incapacitated sexual assault survivors and 13% of forcible rape survivors report the crime. These are the new stats from the White House Task Force. Why are those numbers so low? Those numbers are so low because we don't believe we have a culture around us that cares enough, perhaps. Those numbers are so low because victims of sexual assault or rape don't know how to get help. Those numbers are so low because sometimes in our culture we blame the victim. Those numbers are so low because sometimes there's this disbelief. Did this just happen to me? Was what happened to me something that was wrong? How could this person that I had trusted do this to me? Look at the stat at the bottom. 75 to 80% know their attacker. Can you imagine the impact that has on a person? Here's a person you trusted, a friend, a coach, somebody in your life who shouldn't do this to you, and then it happens. Suddenly your world has changed. You don't know up from down. You don't know who you can trust. The world that was once safe is now no longer safe. And those effects last into the future. 40% of college survivors fear reprisal from their attacker. Another reason why only 2% might report sexual assault, or 13% might report sexual assault of the forcible kind. What I want you to understand right now, actually pull out of your packet, in there is a resource. How can you take action? And important safety numbers. You need to know who to contact. If your friend has been at risk, if your friend's been attacked, if you've suffered a sexual assault, you can call Campus Safety. You can call the Equity and Advocacy Network. If you need to talk to a counselor, you can talk to a counselor. You're already on call. All of these people are available to you, to listen to you, to take action so that you're safe and we start changing the culture. And I don't want you, none of the staff want you to worry about reprisal. It's a real worry. 40% of college survivors, of sexual assault survivors, fear reprisal. But one of the first things Student Services does, one of the first things Megan's team does, is make sure we protect the person who came forward. That there's not a reprisal happening. We want to make sure that you're safe. Why do we care about this? A lot of people suffering. Not only that, though, it's not just that they've been victimized at a single point in time and then it's done. Those who've suffered sexual assault are 3 times more likely to suffer depression. That's not just a blue mood on a day or two. That's entrenched depression. Entrenched, depressed mood over the course of 2 weeks or more. Concentration difficulties can occur. Sleeping difficulties can occur. Loss of meaning in life. Feeling suicidal. 3 times more likely to experience that. 6 times more likely to suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder, where the individual is reliving the trauma in various ways. Either because they have an exaggerated startle response, they're on edge, they're dreaming about the event, they're reliving it in some way. Their concentration can also be impaired. 6 times more likely. And when individuals suffer from depression or PTSD, they're more likely to try to solve those problems through drugs and alcohol. This matters not just in the moment, but also across time. One act can change a life. And we need to take action in that. Why does it happen? Why in America, with all the information that we have, and with all the resources that we have, and talks like this, why is it the case that on college campuses across the nation we have the statistics that you saw? I want to propose to you 3 possible reasons, 3 inputs into this problem. The first one is that we have a culture of immediate gratification. I don't know about you, you probably, wait for everything you want, right? I know my kids, however, do not. I have a 13-year-old son named Jackson, and I have a 10-year-old daughter named Abigail. They just started middle school this week, and they want not to wait for anything. Abby doesn't wait for anything. If she wants to know an answer, she doesn't ponder it, she doesn't think through it. You know what she does? She says she's going to go search it up on Google. She goes and searches it up. If Jackson wants a song, if he wants a video game, he doesn't have to wait and go to a store like his dad did back in the dark ages. He just downloads it. In a matter of minutes, he can have what he wants. We have a culture where everything is supposed to be provided to us easily and without disruption. And that, some researchers believe, translates into sexual activity. That I shouldn't have to wait, that it's my right to have what I want when I want it. We have a culture of immediate gratification where we haven't learned to say no or to wait until the time is right. Not only do we have a culture of instant gratification, we have a culture of gender stereotypes. And the dominant themes are of a conquering male. That's one dominant theme in our society. The guys are at their best when they're taking the ground that they want, that they see. On the court, on the battlefield, when they're conquering sexual partners. We see it in media. We hear it in songs and movies, on TV. That's what a real man is. We also see images in media of women being demure and giving in, reluctantly at first and then turning the corner. We have a culture of those stereotypes playing into the ideals of what it means to be a man and a woman in the greater society. We have to ask if that's going to be our culture. We have to ask, in this room, are we going to stand for that? You know what would be great? Is if we took that stereotype of guys, for example, being decisive and taking action, and instead of taking advantage of others, instead of taking ground from others, taking a stand to protect others, taking a stand to say that our culture here, our campus here, will not have the statistics that are prevalent across the United States. That when you graduate 4 years from now, you're able to say, those statistics I saw that hot night in August in 2014, those statistics didn't become a reality here because I took a stand and others around me took a stand and we took a stand together. We can make a difference in this. And finally, a culture of victim blaming. You can hear it. You hear it in the dramas. You hear it in the halls sometimes. You hear people say, well, didn't he deserve it? Look at where he put himself. Didn't she deserve it? Look at how she dressed. Didn't he deserve it? Being compromised by alcohol. Didn't she deserve it? Being compromised by alcohol? Putting herself or himself in a bad situation? It doesn't make sense, though, to blame the victim, and yet we hear it all the time. Nobody wants to be sexually assaulted. Nobody deserves that. Nobody asks for that. And yet, that's what we're saying when we blame the victim. That's the bigger culture. That's the reality outside of this room. What's the reality going to be inside this room? What's the reality going to be for you and for me in this university? Here's CAF culture. Here's what the university stands for. Here's what the residence life stands for. Here's what I stand for and believe, and what you're invited into. To believe and to act on and to protect in yourself and others around you. Every human being has the right to freely choose when or when not. Where, with whom, and to what extent he or she will express his or her sexuality without causing harm to another. That's the standard that we're called to as a community. A standard where we respect others' sexual rights and their personhood without trampling on them. So you know our culture, a culture of stereotypes, instant gratification, victim blaming. You know our culture, the bigger culture around us, the statistics. You know what we strive for here, where we respect other people's ability to say no and to choose without force or manipulation. What can you do? 4 things. that I want you to think about. You can gain insight. It's kind of what we're doing now, or we're trying to do. I appreciate you focusing in this heat. We're trying to think new thoughts. We're trying to consider new ideas and how we might move forward with that, and then we can be atypical. Consider what people typically do, and then be atypical. I'm going to swim against the stream. We're going to swim against the stream. We're not going to let those stats happen here. Then we can develop our skills and perspectives. Becoming observant for signs of danger, somebody in trouble, and learning new skills in how to intercede to protect them. We can't go into all that tonight, but there's opportunities coming up next month for you to learn some of those skills. And that's a concrete step you can take. And here's where it gets hard. You can be personally responsible. The end of the story, really, it doesn't matter what the person next to you does or does not do. It's still your choice, your responsibility to choose what you do in response to these stats, what you do in response to the situations you see. And finally, you can be part of something bigger, which you're going to be invited into in a little while, where other people take steps and you can take steps with them. So that's a lot. It's going to make you uncomfortable sometimes, because you might have to act when you'd rather not. You might have to be out in front when you'd rather be in the background and passive. Why would you do that? What's your why? Maybe for you, you know someone who's been victimized. Maybe you were victimized. Maybe that's your why. Maybe your why is that you look at those stats and you're appalled by them and you say, not here. Not in my school, not in my community. What's your why? I have mine. I've thought about mine. I'll share that in a second. What's yours?